You haven't asked any of those questions that will determine whether or not this guy is a viable partner for you. All you cared about is the fact that you're attracted to him.
Okay, so
And there was
but
chemistry.
I think that in my 20s, that
Mhm.
could have been a pitfall because I did live my life under 80s and 90s rom-coms. And so you didn't
Mhm.
have to ask that because obviously the script was written so that we could be
Mhm.
together. Entertainment is really good at showing us how love starts. We see the attraction, the pursuit, the conflict, the grand gesture, and eventually the commitment. What we rarely see is what happens after that: the bills, the disappointments, the adjustments, the caregiving, the 20 years of showing up when nothing feels exciting. And that matters because the stories we watch can make us better at recognizing romance than recognizing whether a relationship can actually be maintained. In this segment, we're looking at the questions that separate chemistry from long term viability. So you can tell whether you are building a moment or building something that can actually last.
Well, that's a good pivot toward the edutainment. In edutainment, very few stories show 20 years of maintenance or a 20-year relationship. You can probably name the shows where you had relationships that were 20 plus years. Cosby Show comes to mind. But long-term maintenance is usually not framed as dramatic. Maintenance is where the real story lives. 20 years of showing up, 20 years of adjusting, 20 years of carrying your bills, sickness, parents, job offerings, things of that sort. Disappointment, aging, forgiveness. If you think about a show like The Jeffersons or Good Times or Archie Bunker and the dynamic of those relationships and how it is that you had them and you saw the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. Culture often overvalues intensity and undervalues the durability that comes with those relationships. Intensity does not build stability. Maintenance does. The boring part may actually be the proof. So when you see relationships that are quote unquote boring, where the husband and wife are just living their life and they're dealing with life, the question I have for you is why do we find relationship drama more entertaining than relationship maintenance, even though maintenance is what most people are actually trying to build?
Because again, it goes back to the chemical releases in our brains
Mm-hmm.
that the drama creates the emotion and it captures our attention. So if you think about movies that focus on that instead of the mundane, our brains are wired to respond to the novelty, to the uncertainty, the conflict, the resolution, and it triggers those same chemicals, the dopamine, the endorphins, oxytocin, and people invest in characters and the relationships if they have an emotional connection. During the boring stuff, even though it's not always highlighted to a big degree on screen, sometimes they'll have moments of it, but the big picture is the drama, all the things that create the emotions, because we want people to go to the movies. We want people to connect. We want people to build community around movies. And if it's just watching someone wash dishes for 2.5 hours or pay bills, and there was nothing that triggered any of those happy hormones, nobody's going to watch that. No one's going to talk about it. No one's
But that's
going.
not true.
Okay, give me an example.
Example would be what was the show that came on in the 70s? John Boy, the Waltons.
Are you kidding me? They always had a life lesson. There was some, even if it was John Boy, I don't know, somebody, Timmy fell in the well. Let's just combine all the shows together.
Okay. Okay.
Let's just do all of it. Something happened where you created that emotional high and low, but in between that, the filler things, life was happening. Ma was cleaning the kitchen or whatever, but there was always a little bit of drama. I guess I can't even remember that show. All I remember is good night, John Boy. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, somebody else. Like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, that sort of bleeds into the second receipt that stable relationships rarely create that drama. And so what you're saying is that even in that stable relationship, there was drama. And that drama was something that the kids may have been doing to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And life lessons from that. Okay, I will concede that. So the follow-up question to that is, do you think people started to confuse that emotional intensity with relationship death based on stable relationships are not as visible to our culture? I mean, you talked about growing up in the military And I don't know what life was like on the bases that you live, and I don't know what the relationships were like with respect to the families that you interacted with. I would venture to say that because it was the military, there was probably more strictness in terms of less drama on the bases.
No.
No.
There was lots of drama on the base.
Okay, so it was a drama on the bases in terms of
Woo! Yeah.
sleeping with.
Everything.
So,
The
but
thing
okay, so I
though
never
is that
watched what is the Army Wives that Sterling Brown was on.
I don't know anything about the Army. We're Marine Corps.
No,
Thanks.
but he can't. The Army Wives.
I never watched that,
Okay.
so I don't know. But the base is full of drama. It's
Okay.
full of, one spouse being deployed, and then there are other spouses like, I'm bored, and then they're like, oh, the Altadena man's coming to deliver milk and something else.
Wow.
There's lots of things going on base.
So it was like, what's the show that came on in the early 2000s? Desperate Housewives is what you're saying?
I can say this in retrospect, and then talking to my friends as adults, there was a lot of things going on. But my mom, and I told you this before, put us in the Black Little House on the Prairie bubble. Like, I had no idea these things were happening. As adults, like some of the friends I still have that lived on base, we were like, what? All of this stuff was happening? I had no idea. We're talking to my mom now. She's like, yes, all of those things were happening.
Okay. So the stable relationships, in your case, did have the drama.
Every relationship has drama. Which relationship doesn't have drama? The only relationship that doesn't have drama are two people sitting on the porch without their hearing aids, and one person is drinking some tea, the other one's drinking coffee, and a skunk is acting as their cat because they don't know.
But with respect to edutainment, we rarely see stable relationships that create drama.
What?
With respect to entertainment. I'm trying
You
to think.
rarely see, let me make sure I understood.
Stable
You rarely see
relationships.
stable relationships that create drama.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
All of them create drama. All of them. Give me one that doesn't.
I can't
Do
think.
do do
I
do
can't
do
think.
do
I
do
can't think.
do do do
But we
do
do
do.
so the final receipt for.
Okay, so you couldn't think of one.
I could not think of one, so we pivot to the final receipt, and that is rom-coms end at the commitment. And I know rom-coms are your favorite form of movie.
It's not my favorite form of
It
movie,
is.
but I like them.
Rom-coms usually treat commitment as the finish line. The chase ends, the misunderstanding gets resolved, the couple kiss, Lynn is tonguing someone down, and she's got on her Hoochie Mama shorts, and her non-dancing music comes on, so she sways back and forth, and then the credit rolls, and we cut and scene. And so real relationships, though, do not end at the commitment. That's where they begin. The question that I have for you is, do you think entertainment has made people better at recognizing romance than recognizing whether a relationship can actually be maintained? Meaning, is Miss Lynn so much in her head that she is chasing the fantasy of what a relationship looks like on television versus what it is that a relationship can be or is in the real life, messy day to day?
I think that in the 80s, 90s, absolutely that was the case. In this today's age, no. It looks so different now. Love looks different. A love story looks different. And I think that, at least for me, it's freeing. In the 80s, 90s, I kind of felt like romance, love, all of those things were outlined for me by cultural expectations. Now it's like, whoa, okay, you can love a different way. You can show up a different way. And I think it's depicted on the shows that we see. And I talk about Netflix rom-coms. You never know what the love story is. And I love that.
I think the full circle moment where we started, because when we talked about compatibility and we talked about chemistry, you said that you could not separate the two. Or you said you would not separate, or did not.
I don't separate. They go hand in hand for me.
Most romance stories focus on the attraction. They focus on the conflict and they focus on the ending. But they do not deal with the structure in terms of the operating that will allow them to function.
Okay, give me an example.
An example of that would be Lynn sees this person walking across the room. She's physically attracted to that person and she's saying, wow, I want to make a baby with him, because that's what you
He
want.
must have been Tyson the model.
So,
Whoa.
So you see Sterling K. Brown
Yeah.
walking
Yeah.
across the parking lot.
I'm about to
And he's got
go
his
through
shirt
some
on
medical
for whatever
procedures
reason.
to go get a baby.
He's got
Yeah,
his
okay,
shirt
go ahead.
on. And you're like, Sterling, I've been waiting for you, Sterling. You say it in a Diana Carroll
I
kind
say
of
it
way.
like that. Okay.
And so Sterling comes over and he talks to you like Sterling does. And he's corny like Sterling is. And you just melt. You're like, Sterling, you're so funny.
Okay.
And the next thing you know, Sterling has you grabbing the sheets. Now, all of a sudden,
Oh my God, Ryan, I'm so sorry. This is just a story. Girl, I think you're the bomb.
you haven't had a conversation with Sterling about anything that would allow your encounter with him to be built on a foundation that's going to work. You don't know Sterling's situation with Ryan. You don't know whether or not they're taking it.
I 100% would know that situation before you came over here. Because I'm actually afraid of her.
And whether or not he wants to.
Man, this is okay. So let's just set aside his relationship part because I would know that.
Okay.
Unless he's a liar, but I would know that. But the other part, I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that for a good time. Like, I don't need
Hold
that.
on. We're past the good time. You're trying to establish a relationship with him.
Okay, and so I just want to go make sure I just want to reiterate you said I didn't know his relationship with Ryan, and I'm trying to establish a relationship. What?
He's come out and said, Ryan and I are over. We're getting a divorce.
Okay.
You've been stalking me for 20 years.
Yeah.
So here I am, here I am for you. So
right.
You haven't asked any of those questions that will determine whether or not this guy is a viable partner for you. All you cared about is the fact that you're attracted to him.
Okay, so
chemistry.
I think that in my 20s, that could have been a pitfall because I did live my life under 80s and 90s rom-coms. And so you didn't have to ask that because obviously the script was written so that we could be together. Like, duh, why do I need to ask these questions? It's in the script.
Because if he walked across the parking lot without a shirt, you know what you would say? What would you say?
I turn into Johnny Gill.
No. What else would you say? That's a what?
I do what?
What else would you say if you saw him and he was walking across the parking lot without a shirt? What's that you would say? You said
catch, because I'm running towards you.
No,
what am I saying?
That's a what? What's your famous line? That's what?
I don't even know, John. Help me.
That's a sign.
It would be a sign. Any rate, so no, if we were getting ready to build a life at this age, no, I'm asking lots of questions. The number one question before he even came over here was, what's up with you and Ryan? And I need to know let's call her up. So no, but other than that, before we started a life, God, yes, I need to know all of that. Like, that's crazy. I mean, that's my 20-year-old. It was in the script. Didn't need to ask because obviously we were aligned. Otherwise, why would you be here? Because this is the movie. It's supposed to be this way. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, I need some answer. I'm going to send you a list of questions and I need those back to me by the end of the week. Did I ever tell you about this guy that I was dating? And he says, he lied to me. And I said, why did you lie? He goes, I wasn't ready for the question. Oh, okay. So I was supposed to submit this to you in advance. So I would submit the questions to them in advance and then give them a deadline and then we can move forward. But no, I would not be moving in or establishing a life with somebody based on their bullshit little muscles. I'd be building something else with them, but not that.
As you like to say, no one believes you. No one believes you. So most romance stories, guys, focus on the attraction, conflict, pursuit, and confession. Very few focus on Miss Lynn's ability to budget.
But I still don't believe, because you didn't give me any examples. You just gave me a random example.
I gave you an example. You didn't like the example I gave you.
Well, that was not even a true example. Like, give me one movie that does that.
One movie that does what?
One movie or TV show that just focuses on the attraction in today's world and not the drama, not the mundane. Just give me one.
That focuses on the attraction?
And what you just said, that focuses on that and doesn't focus on just like the building, the mundane, the whatever. Like, give me one. That's all I'm asking for. You couldn't give me an example of the other ones. Like, your receipts are just, woo, you ain't doing so well, brother.
You can look at any rom-com.
No, any is not specific. Give me one.
Look at any rom-com from the 90s. Any rom-com.
Okay, I said of today.
I don't watch rom-coms, so I don't.
Okay, so you don't know what you're talking
Or,
about.
or watch
Next.
or any of your Hallmark Channel movies that you watch.
I would rather eat glass than watch the Hallmark Channel.
Anyway, all right. That said, we've established that you clearly do not know the distinction between chemistry and compatibility. And
Okay, so we don't know that. We do know that you don't have receipts and you're just speaking out your ass. We do know that.
anyway, what do you have planned for this week?
Not a lot. What do I have planned for? You know what? Speaking of shows, I actually discovered Abbott Elementary. I didn't care for it the first time I watched it, but now I'm obsessed with it. So I've gone through 4 seasons in a week, and we're finishing watching The Fableman. Man, that is a good movie. It's so good. I was up till 1:30 this morning watching that.
The Abbott Elementary example would be Brunson's character with Tariq and how they originally started dating, and she saw that he had no structure that
Okay.
she was comfortable with, and obviously decided to end that relationship. So that
Love
would
to
be
do.
your.
Just a spoiler alert. You are a walking spoiler alert.
That would be your. I'm sorry, I didn't know that you had gotten to that point yet.
I did, but maybe I'm not the only person listening to your bullshit today.
Whoa, Jesus, my heart. Anyway, I'm hurt, offended almost, but that's okay.
John, what do you have planned for this week?
I'm still dealing with the housing issues, and we have painters that will start their journey this week, hopefully, and then we'll try to get all this finished by the end of the month if everything goes according to plan. It's a tight schedule, but we will see. All right, so what's the point, guys? The point is not that love doesn't matter. It does. Love matters, chemistry matters, attraction matters, connection matters. The point is that none of those things by themselves prove that 2 people can build a life together, because the beginning of a relationship can be powered by feeling, but the maintenance of a relationship requires structure. And that is where a lot of us get surprised. They thought that the spark meant they were compatible. They thought that wanting the same lifestyle meant they wanted the same life. They thought liking the same experiences meant that they had the same operating system. They thought that because the relationship felt good and when life was light, it did, it would automatically hold when life got heavy. But pressure tells the truth. Money tells the truth, debt tells the truth, housing tells the truth. When you have to care for a loving family member, that tells the truth, stress tells the truth, recovery from an accident or an illness tells the truth. If there's conflict, that tells the truth, and responsibility tells the truth. Because when life gets real, the relationship stops being just about how you feel and starts becoming about how you function. Can we make decisions together? Can we tell the truth together? Can we carry responsibility together? Can we disagree without destroying each other? Can we adjust when the plan changes? Can we repair when something breaks? Can we protect each other from pressure instead of becoming another source of pressure? That is structural compatibility. And I think this matters because we're living in an economy where stability is harder to reach and harder to maintain. Housing is expensive, debt is heavy, jobs are uncertain. Caregiving can be increasingly responsive to one individual. Families get stretched, people get tired, and when the world becomes less stable, relationships are asked to carry more weight. That is not just true in marriage or dating, it's also true in friendships. It's true in family relationships, especially with siblings. It is true with aging parents, it's true with work, and it's true with community. Every relationship has an operating system. Some operating systems are clear, some are assumed, some are shared. Some are unfair. Some are honest, some are built on avoidance. Some are built on one person carrying quietly while everyone else benefits from the stability they create. And eventually the system reveals itself. That is why I do not think the strongest relationships are always the loudest relationships. They're not always the most exciting. They're not always the most visible. They're not always the one that photographed the best. Sometimes the strongest relationships are the ones with the best maintenance. The person who shows up, the person who keeps their word, the person who can be honest without being cruel, the person who can apologize without making it about their ego, the person who can plan, the person who can sacrifice, the person who can share responsibility, the person who does not disappear when life becomes inconvenient. That may not be dramatic, they may not go viral, that may not make great television, but that is structure. And structure is what allows us to survive real life. So maybe the question is not simply, do we love each other? Maybe the better question is, what have we built that can hold the love? Because love without structure can become stress. Love without planning can become resentment. Love without shared responsibility can become exhaustion. Love without repair can become distance. Love without honesty can become performance. And love without stability can start to feel like pressure. So, as we open this series on the relationship economy, this is where we have to begin. Not with red flags, not with dating advice, not with who should text first, not with who pays for dinner, but with the deeper question. Can we build something stable together? Can we carry life together? Can we create a system where both people can breathe? Because attraction may start the relationship, but structure is what sustains it. And if attraction disappears tomorrow, what structure would still be holding your relationship together? That's the question, and that's the point. While you're out and about this week, make the time to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, take the time to do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening and spending your time with us on I Take Your Point. For more unfiltered conversations like this, click the link in the description. Huge thank you to our production team. We couldn't do this without you. Quick disclaimer, the views shared are those of the host and guest and are for informational purposes only, not professional advice. Keep building your own table, take care, and be well.
So what's the point? Entertainment has made us very good at recognizing how love starts. We know the look across the room, we know the chemistry, we know the conflict, the pursuit, the dramatic confession, and the kiss that tells us that these two people are supposed to be together. Then the credits roll, but the real relationship does not end at commitment. That is where the maintenance begins. The bills still have to be paid, decisions still have to be made, somebody gets sick, someone loses a job, parents get older, plans change, stress shows up, and suddenly the relationship is no longer being carried by the excitement of the beginning. It's being tested by how two people actually function together. That is the part that entertainment rarely teaches us how to evaluate. Attraction can tell you that you want somebody. It cannot tell you whether or not you can make decisions together. Chemistry cannot tell you whether you can share responsibility. A great date cannot tell you whether or not you can disagree without destroying each other. It cannot tell you what repair looks like when something gets broken or how to adjust when life changes the plan. And when we allow the romantic script to answer questions we never actually ask, we start treating intensity as evidence. We assume that because it feels right, it must be built right. That is how people end up deeply connected to someone they cannot build a stable life with. The answer is not to remove the romance. The answer is to stop asking romance to prove something it was never designed to prove. Over the next 30 days, before you make or deepen a shared commitment, have one direct conversation about money, responsibility, decision-making, conflict, repair, caregiving, and change. And do not move forward with anyone until both people have answered honestly. While you're out and about this week, make the time to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, take the time to do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening and spending your time with us on I Take Your Point. For more unfiltered conversations like this, click the link in the description. Huge thank you to our production team. We couldn't do this without you. Quick disclaimer, the views shared are those of the host and guest and are for informational purposes only, not professional advice. Keep building your own table, take care, and be well.